from winning trophies to scoring tons of points and dominating the league all on his own. Michael Jordan clearly was a once-in-a-century superstar, but there is one thing MJ struggles with doing: letting things go. Cause Michael Jordan never forgets, no matter who you are, whether you're someone as close as Scottie Pippen or some news reporter. If you're in Jordan's bad books, you're in Jordan's bad books. The former Chicago Bulls superstar has always been that way. For someone who has such a huge legacy, the GOAT can be really petty at times. Over the years, there have been a ton of people who used to be close to the star, but are no longer on talking terms with him. And that's more down to Jordan's nature than their own actions. And one such victim of Jordan's is former Philadelphia 76ers player and broadcaster Charles Barkley. Sir Charles was at one point quite close to the GOAT, but now the two don't even want to look at each other. And given how close they were, it's actually quite surprising to see where their relationship stands now. Just to give you some perspective, like these guys used to be golfing buddies. More than golf, they were gambling buddies. They played on the same team, hung out together, but all that seems to have dwindled away.
Last summer, Barkley caddied in a skins game for Jordan at White Manor Country Club.
And with how things stand, there seems to be very little chance of reconciliation, especially since the two haven't spoken to each other in 10 years. And how can they make up if they're not even speaking? But how did things get so bad? How did these friends turn into bitter enemies?
You got hit that hard, you said, no, this isn't happening.
Well, that's all you do. Like I said, we got to do this again tomorrow. I quit after one day.
See, the former Philadelphia 76ers man recently appeared in an episode of the popular podcast Let's Go. And there, Barkley revealed that he always thought of Jordan as one of his closest friends. But all of that just changed overnight. The GOAT just stopped talking to him around 10 years ago. And since there hasn't been any contact between the two, Jordan was apparently ticked off by something Barkley said about him after becoming a broadcaster. Apparently, Sir Charles criticized something MJ did. The six-time NBA champion didn't appreciate that and decided to cut all ties. But the thing is, was their friendship ever really as strong as we thought?
Well, he got his head, man. He don't need no helmet for his head. He's the most stubborn person you ever gonna meet in your life.
Cause there's no way a small comment on a sports broadcast could have broken that. And if you ask me, I don't think that the two were ever compatible as friends to begin with. Why? Well, because Charles Barkley doesn't know how to sugarcoat things. Jordan might have a big ego, but let me tell you, Barkley doesn't care about what other people might say.
You see all them people in line who want to fight me?
Yeah, I did. Now I do.
What if
I didn't see him back in the day?
Ever since he became a broadcaster, one thing that has stood out about the former Philadelphia player is that he doesn't hold back. If he's got something to say, you better believe he'll say it. But guess what? This is just Barkley acting on some of the advice he received from others. In the podcast, he shared that when he was making the transition from being a player to a career in the media, he was advised not to care about what people say. According to him, he's just been following that principle in his career. And to be honest, it has worked for him too, making him one of the most appreciated analysts in the NBA. But both Jordan and Barkley have similar no-nonsense personalities, which make it almost impossible for them to coexist. So this was always going to happen. Like, Barkley really said Jordan needs to have better people around him and thought that he could get away with it. There can be no debate that there was hardly anyone who did a better job on the court than Michael Jordan. However, the same can't be said about his career as an NBA executive. See, Jordan took over the basketball operations at the Charlotte Bobcats, now the Hornets, in 2006. At that time, MJ owned a minority stake in the franchise.
Competitors such as me, to accept that type and yet, dive in, be more determined to turn this thing around.
And then later went on to become its principal owner in 2010. In his time being an executive for the Charlotte franchise, Jordan continually faced challenges in making the best of their resources. And speaking on the matter sometime in 2012, Barkley said that he knows why.
Everybody know about the basketball exploits, but
Barkley said that MJ's problem as an executive is that he has not got any people around him who would be honest with him. When you're as big a star as the six-time NBA champion and have an equally big ego, there aren't a lot of people who would have the guts to be honest with you. Everyone is going to just say what you want to hear.
Well, a fixture at Ryder Cups through the years. I first remember seeing Michael Jordan at his first Ryder Cup in Valderrama, Spain.
However, that is a recipe for disaster, because you need to have people who can give you the headline, who can say it to your face if you're doing something wrong. You need to fill up your front office with people like that. Barkley said that Jordan, in a way, is a victim of his own success. He honestly shared his thoughts on what might be wrong in Charlotte. But surprise, surprise, Jordan wasn't having any of it. Jordan didn't like Barkley's comments one bit. After hearing his analysis, MJ lost his cool. According to Barkley, Jordan called him directly, and he went ballistic. He was absolutely livid at what Barkley said about him, and he made his feelings very well known. The former Philadelphia man recalls that the last thing he heard in that call was Jordan cursing him out, and then he said to Barkley that, "You're supposed to be my boy." The GOAT apparently felt betrayed by his golfing and gambling buddy in a time when he was already feeling the heat, because let's admit it, he hasn't been nearly as good as an executive as he was on the court. It was the first real time in his life that he felt in a vulnerable position. He was in a position where his performance could be questioned, and in such a moment, he did not like the fact that one of his closest friends was also criticizing him. In his defense, Barkley told Jordan that he was just doing his job. He stressed that their friendship had nothing to do with it, and that he was just sharing his honest assessment of the situation. And well, none of his clarifications were of any use at that time, as he recalled that he hasn't heard from the former Chicago Bulls man ever since.
Whatever he says now, you know it wasn't his true actions then. You know, it's time enough to think about it. Or the reaction of the public that's kind of changed his perspective of it.
But the TNT analyst still hopes that the two can be friends again. While MJ might not want to patch things up, Sir Charles has made his intentions clear. He shared that he honestly thought that the bad blood between the two would just blow over, and the two would be on talking terms again. However, things have not turned out that way in the last 10 years.
I said that Michael wasn't doing a good job. He's doing a great job now. They've gotten better. He's made some great signings.
And Barkley knows why that is. He said that both of them are too stubborn to do anything about it, but that doesn't stop him from thinking about his friendship with the GOAT. Barkley said that whatever needs to happen for reconciliation has to come from the Chicago Bulls man. However,
do you love him though? You love him.
I love him.
You love him.
I've known him. We met in '84, and we just had a chemistry.
He wasn't shy to admit that he misses him. Speaking about their friendship, Barkley said that Jordan was his best friend, and he still loves him. But if I'm being honest, any reunion between the two doesn't look to be on the horizon anytime soon. If Jordan can cut off someone like Scottie Pippen, you better believe he has the ego to never talk to Barkley again. However, only time will tell if that remains the case. Well, that's all, folks. That was all about why Michael Jordan hates Charles Barkley. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.